Shalom. This is your brother Ramon coming to you again, bringing on the gospel of truth, to edify the hopeful elect of Yahshua, the Israel, so-called Blacks, and Americans, and Latinos, to warn the two-thirds of our people of the impending judgment of the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai has for great Babylon, America. And it's always a pleasure to let Esau the Edomite, the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of, know that your end is coming soon. Before we get started, I'd like to give all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakadash. Double honors that teaches others in the bars of great millstone, likewise, brothers, put on this truth. 50 fearlessly feeding the sheep and to brothers and sisters tuning in. Shalom. All right, so definitely indoors in weather, inclement weather out there, uh, and the toxic air, basically high winds and toxic air, you know the deal. So I use wisdom in this ministry so that we can persevere towards the end or till the end. Okay, nonetheless, the lesson and the edification is still the same. Now, some of you might be offended what you see in the background there. Okay, and if you know Jason good enough, okay, or well enough, you know Jason not offended, okay, of the picture, okay, with the so-called black man or that Jake, that so-called Negro, you know, with all of the welts on his back. But many of you Jakes will still be very offended, okay, with the clip with the white boy getting his ass whipped. Okay, and this is from the movie Star Troopers, okay, Star Troopers back in 1997, okay, with Castle Van Diem. And you know, the thing about that in that movie when he was getting this beating, you know, because he basically this was like a you know UCMJ, you know, where he got basically corporal punishment. All right, and he took the 10 lashes. And interesting enough, okay, the person that was actually whipping him was a so-called black man. So of course the theater was wrong with that because how ironic, so to speak. I love this scene, by the way. Okay, in fact, I'm going to start off with this. This is the book of Revelation 18 and verse 6. It reads, "Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works in the cup which she had filled to her double." Okay, and you know, we've seen the slave movies. We've seen the historical documentary of what Esau did to us, and they brush it under the tables. They basically water it down in the movies as if we really wanted to be under the subjection of brutality and rape and murder, okay, that was committed upon the children of Israel, so-called Blacks and Americans and Latinos. Okay, and now information right now is readily available to everybody. We're seeing that basically a lot of things that we were taught in school, the watered down version of the cruelty of this man was just that, just watered down lies. Okay, and the world right now is getting privy, okay, to how evil and wicked, okay, these Edomites are. Starting with Amalek. Okay, you see what's going on over there in Iran. Okay, and we see the retaliation of the Iranians, on the Gulf state. So, they're being impacted because, they've done what? In fact, let's go into Proverbs 16 and 5 agrees, everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai. Now, when you think of proud, who's more prouder than the so-called white man? Nobody. Okay. Now we have, Jakes, and we have, when I say Jakes, I'm talking two-third Jakes that they follow the ways of Esau. And so they're proud to be an American. They're proud that they've had some degree of success here. They're proud that they're being accepted, by the so-called white man, but in reality, the real true proud, okay, is Esau the Edomite, the so-called white man. Okay. Now, for those of you peasant, poor, pathetic, low-level white people, so-called white people out there that come across that video, you might be offended because in your mind, you've drank the juice of us, walking together, kumbaya, and holding hands when it's convenient to you. Okay, this is the reason why some of you would come on and say, well, we're all in the same boat. We're all Americans. No, we're not Americans. We are captives. Okay, we are prisoners of war. Okay, and there's a war between the righteous and the wicked, okay? We are righteous, so-called blacks, Native Americans and Latinos and Hispanics, and you are unrighteous and evil, okay? You are dishonorable. We were created to honor. You were created to dishonor. So no, we can't walk hand in hand. It says, though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished. You are not going to be unpunished. Okay. So right now, okay, as America is, really gasping for air and it's on its on its deathbed. Okay. And it's becoming evident and clear. We put up videos, and different brothers do different kind of videos and approach it in different ways, as far as showing the atrocities, that Esau brings upon the earth, these other tribes, and particularly our people. Okay, we're seeing the Edomites, okay, the low level Edomites, you peasant Edomites, you proud ones, you're the ones that hung us from the tree. In fact, it was probably a peasant Edomite, okay, that's here today, that's rebirth today, okay, or regenerated today, that beat that Jake, which you see with all those calluses on his back, okay, but you would still walk around and you expect the so-called Negro, okay, to fight your battles, to go there and go march for you, okay, to go and take a bullet for you and your kids, to go there and get beat down, okay. Jake, it's the same old game, okay, and we've told you over and over and over. When you join hands with these Edomites, you're joining hands with death, okay, because Esau is death. It's just that simple. Take a look at the news. Get your head out of your ass for 1 minute. Okay, you so-called Latinos, you so-called Hispanic, you so-called blacks, okay, you so-called Native American. Get your head, pull your head, just extract it for 1 minute, and you will actually see the reality of your plight here in Great Babylon, America. Without Yahweh Shai, who's the Mashiach, okay, our Savior, our Redeemer, okay, who the Most High Yahweh will send to save his elect. Without him, man, none of us are going to make it out of this. None of us are going to make it out of this, okay? We are the messengers, and our message to you is this: repent while you can. Repent while you can. All right? Let's go into let's talk a little bit more about Esau, because again, I don't see how you so-called Negroes and how you so-called Latinos and Hispanic, especially Latinos and Hispanic who desire, because you have hair similar to the enemy, you have a skin tone that might be similar to his, why do you desire or think of yourself as a so-called white person? You Let me put it to you this way: the last thing you better hope you are not an Edomite. Okay, the judgment of the Lord Yahweh is going to bring, okay, upon these Edomites is so great. Okay, so great. Do you really want to be an Edomite? Hmm? I mean, for right now, the wicked, they boast about their prosperity. They boast about, being on top and being able to commit all the crimes and answer to nobody. They don't hold themselves guilty. They're not in trouble like other men. Right now, this man has started that war. Gas prices are like, what, $4 a gallon. Typically out here in El Paso, gas prices are about 2.25, and that was just about 3 weeks ago. Now it's $4. Okay, and the payout here is not the way it is out there in California. Okay, so people who out here who get an apostle pay, okay, they right now they're basically in the negative. Okay, and this is all across the board. Okay, people are suffering. Okay, people are moaning when the wicked are in rulership. In fact, we go into Job and you can find out why. When you put people that are basically genetically retarded, okay, in power. Okay, this is the end result. This is Job 30 and starting with verse 5, and it reads, they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as a thief, and that's talking about the so-called white race, okay, or white people are the Edomites, okay? They're like thieves. Okay, we can see we when you look at Columbus, they came over here and they stole the land. They stole the land. Okay, you have people use the word cultural vulture, where if you create something, they'll take it, they'll repackage it, stamp their name on it, and call it theirs. And this is what they do. Okay, they steal. They're a thief. Okay. It says, among the bushes they braid, under the nestle they will gather together. So, these are the Onga Bonga people, caveman. This is the reason why you see them making fun of themselves, talking about it's so easy a caveman can do it. They're telling you right to your face in commercials, in satires, that they're cavemen. Now, we know that they're cavemen because throughout the scriptures talk about them being cavemen, being proud, living in the clefts of the rock. And the Most High Yahweh Shemashai had his prophets put it, in this book, so that at the time when we are awakened, we are able to educate our people on who's actually ruling over you. Okay. We basically have primates that are ruling over you. Now, I know some of you, you probably look at this guy who's getting his ass whipped, and he might look like a handsome so-called white boy to you, and a lot of you Eve women, and you desire him, over a righteous man like myself or any other brother out there, and that's okay. You can have him, okay, and he can have you, okay. We desire the elect women that are humble, okay, in spirit, and that actually add value to our lives, not you doggone horse. All right. Continuing on, it says they were children of fools, yet children of base men, they will viler than the earth. So the base man, okay, is putting authority on the earth, okay, given high intelligence, basically he's been able to. The one thing these Edomites are good at doing, if you haven't figured it out, and for those of you who've had, experience in corporate America or working in high level positions or working for high level people, so to speak, and I'm just using that term, because people like to feel themselves, and that's fine. That yeah, to each his own. Okay, then you will see and deal with people that basically these people are actually are base people. Okay, they're base people. All right, but the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, and you have three modes of people. You have the sons and daughters of the Most High, which is us. Okay, then you have the sons and daughters of men. Okay, which are the other tribes, and those are the ones that are going to be spared. And then you have the sons and daughters of the wicked, which is Esau the Edomite. So the sons and daughters of the wicked really is actually one tribe. One tribe is incredibly wicked. Okay, the sons and daughters of the devil, okay? Evil, okay? And those are the Edomites, so-called white people, okay? So this is what we're dealing with here. We have cavemen that are in rulership over us, okay? And let's go into Proverbs 28 and 3. And one of the most damning thing about this, and of course, I can go into news headlines, of course, but you've seen it with a whole lot of the other camps out there. You still get the same thing that's going on over there, but it's still, we know it's a distraction from the Epstein file and the economic issues that's going on here in Great Babylon, America. Um, and, so they're going to do whatever it takes to get your mind off it. But it kind of doesn't make any sense because now the people are focusing on their poverty, their inability to pay their bills, their inability to make their ends meet. And you have a place that, like to be in a spirit of mirth, meaning what? People they like to have fun. Okay, they want to do things. Now, the only people who are not having fun, is the hopefully lack us. Because, on top of the fact that we have to function, okay, in society with people who are asleep, okay, and some of them will awake, especially if they're part of the lack. They will awake. They will eventually wake. Each one of us, we were out there sleeping too, so we can't be hypocritical and go, why are they, they're gonna wake. They hear the words, and that's why our job is to constantly go out there and go do it. You can't get out there and stand up on the side of the street with cars passing you by, people snapping photos of you or trying to secretly videotape you to have some fun or laugh later. Okay, you sit down in front of the camera like the elder apostle Ramla always like to say, turn the camera on, just turn it on, okay, and do it, and of course, the spirit has to be on you to do it, okay. But we go into Proverb 28 and verse 3. It reads, uh, Proverbs 28 and verse 3. Let's go to Proverbs 28 and verse 3 because I wanted to bring this up because this is something you see, and I touched on this before, but what you see taking place, okay, is this, and this oppression. When you look at it, actually is in two forms: it's a physical oppression and it's a mental oppression. And I'll talk about each one of those. It says a poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain, which leaveth no food. Now, when you talk about a poor man, which would be considered us, okay. Now, Jakes are in position of power and authority in certain scenarios. Okay, keep in mind, just like back in the time when we were in shackles, okay, you would have the movie Django actually illustrated that perfectly. Where Sam Jackson's character. was in charge of that particular plantation, and you could see he had the power, okay, over the other Jakes, and he was very cruel with it because he's going to do whatever it takes to show and demonstrate his loyalty, okay, to his master, which is Esau the Edomite, this so-called white man. And henceforth today, you have the exact same thing. Let's give you an example of the physical part of it. You have these ICE agents. They're made up of so-called Negroes, and mainly a lot of Latinos and Hispanics are involved with ICE agents. Okay, what is their duty? Their duty and their job right now is to go to the different towns and basically disrupt the life flow of households. They grab people out of their household, children, women, men, drag them out in the street. Some of it's caught on camera. Many of it right now is probably not being caught on camera or film or made a big deal in the news right now, because right now people are distracted with gas prices, food prices, and what's taking place over there in Iran. In the meantime, they're secretly building, okay, these detention centers and grabbing Jakes up in the thousands still, right? While people are asleep and busy, okay, with their own problems, okay? And we understand that that's going to be the case right there and how it's going to go. But what we see here is that a great deal, or you got nearly 40% of those agents are in fact look, at least they look like Jakes. And for them, they're just doing their job. You know, they're supporting the cause. They're just doing their job. They're bringing a check home to their family, so to speak, or taking care of their family. Okay, not understanding that if you trust the damn devil, okay, eventually, as he's get you comfortable in his doing his wicked deeds, he's gonna turn the sword on your ass. Okay, and he's gonna throw you in the internment camp. He's gonna throw your kids in the internment camp. Okay, and then what are you gonna do? You expect, okay. In fact, while I'm on that subject, in fact, let me bring this out. Okay, um, we always like to bring this out. And y'all know what I'm talking about when I bring this up. Okay, I hate touch screens. Bring this out, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. Okay, this is Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. It reads, okay, now let me go up and go to verse 12. It says, "Set him not by thee, lest when he had overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therein. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or such come nigh a wild beast?" And Esau, serpent is always, it's kind of like a metaphor, okay, or used as describing someone that's like slick. They're smooth, they're a liar, and that's why, okay, in the Garden of Eden, okay, when Eve was tempted by the serpent, really, which was a man, okay, it shows how subtle and how smooth the serpent is. And those of you who've dealt with Edomites, intimately, and I don't mean sexual way, but intimately, like really work along with them, you know, um, somehow they like you, whatever cases like that, because you could produce and make them money. You're a good servant to them. Don't get it twisted. You get to understand that their words are smooth. They have the ability to tell you, they can tell you things, what they can do for you, because they actually have the ability to actually make it happen. And this is what gives them that power over Jakes, because they can actually produce. Okay. When we come out and we talk about a greater power, the power that created all things, okay, that's going to come and save you from this man who eventually, pursuing the Genesis 27 and 41, where he's going to pursue his brother Jacob, which is the 12 tribe of Israel, which he already started, okay, which is going to accumulate into a time so horrible that you have the archangel, okay, Michael, that's going to come and have to, he's going to be dispatched specifically to go and save, particularly the elect. Okay, that's how horrible it's going to be. So mentally, the brothers, them, even though we sit down in the camera, we appear to be, calm and whatever case they're down, we are going to be calm because we expect it. And Yahushua made it very clear to us, fear none of these things, you will suffer. Meaning what? We are going to suffer. No joke about it. It doesn't matter, if you're a middle-aged prophet or younger prophet or whatever cases like that, or the apostles. Okay, some of us going to get put into the spirit world. Some of us going to get dealt hard, and it's just the way it is. But then we're going to be legends, and those of us who get put in that situation are going to be legends in the kingdom, kingdom of heaven. that you went to death, okay, to proclaim this word, and you remain faithful, okay? So we're not going to pity them when they throw those ICE agents in the system, in there. And we already know they have these robots already, set up, in case, the flesh servant, so to speak, don't want to obey, okay, the laws of the land or the laws that's coming from this cruel Lord, okay, whether it be Trump or whether it be another one, okay, uh, the same way. Now, speaking on the poor man oppressing the poor, okay, let's talk about the mental part of it. Okay, IUIC, you all are wrong. Tawadi Haba Shemel Shai Bashim Kakadash, okay, for the elder apostles, them, the leaders of this ministry, the leaders of Israel, I like to say, okay. They watch them, they see those videos, and the Lord put the spirit on them, okay, to deal with the false doctrine at IUIC and those pull out. Because a lot of us, when we came into this, we started watching IUIC, and you get entertained for a second, and then afterwards, like, is this it? Okay, is this it? And you start seeking, something that's beyond just cackling and laughing and some dudes in purple robes, beside themselves, really this is all about. And then that's when you find out the truth, okay, from GMS, okay, or Great Millstone. And this is why you see it is where it is, okay? It is, you give them the honor, okay, the double honors, and you move on with your lesson, and you do the work, and you follow into the path in which the true man of the Lord have been set up to teach those who are going to come out here and teach. Now, IUIC, get back to IUIC, okay, you are mentally destroying, okay, and it's all of you, whether it's your leader, okay, who calls himself general or bishop, okay, is issuing the order for y'all to go and teach false doctrine, okay, it shows that y'all have the lack of integrity, and you are an oppressor of the poor, because you're not telling the people, okay, or your people, who their true Messiah is, who their true power is. Okay, you're because of a few dollars, okay, that's going to be soon gone, okay, and you join hand with the wicked. You're willing to destroy the minds of your people, to persuade your people, your own people, okay, to follow a false doctrine. And like I said, Tawadi Abba Shema Shabba Shema Kakadash, that you have the man, the apostles, them, the elder brothers, and who might come across these videos. The rest of us, we don't happen, the algorithm don't give it to us like that. So I just happen to see it in the lesson and go, okay, because I'm not subscribed to IUIC, every now and then something comes out like that. I may do a lesson on them, but in general, it's focused on the bigger picture. Okay, and of course, you go into selective topics. Depends on where the spirit comes on you. But there it is, right. And I just wanted to bring that out because you have these same prophets. Okay, these same prophets are denying Jacob's trouble. Okay, and what is Jacob's trouble? Jacob, 12 tribe of Israel, it is a time of trouble. Okay, you can't make ends meet. You're being persecuted. Okay, you get some people suffering from illnesses because they bow down to the Jews. Okay, you have that sense of trouble just right around the corner, and this is going to intensify. Okay, but you have men that are coming telling you, no, it's going to be okay. All you got to do is trust in the system, and we're telling you that's not the case. Okay, this is Jeremiah 23 and 32. And it reads, behold, I am against them that prophesy false dreams, said the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, and do tell them and cause my people to err by their lies and by their lightness. Yet I sent them not, nor commanded them. Therefore, they shall not profit this people at all, said the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai. So when you think of prophet, and it actually spells the word Profit, profit, as if like an investment. When you sit down and you're watching a video, you're investing your time. I can tell you personally myself, I don't like wasting my time with anything. I really don't. Okay. So I'm not going to sit down and watch a dude in purple talking shit. I'm not. Now, as a one of the brothers out there that is on the highway in the Bible and this unicorn, I would watch it for the purpose of, okay, what is he saying that is going to deceive or cause some of our people to rethink, okay, what they've learned from the true man of the Lord. Okay, which is what the Lord Yahweh Shemashah has put certain brothers, give them that ability to go and find these videos, or the algorithm somehow bringing over the videos over to them, and it's to keep the sheep intact, not to look at that wolf and go, that's dressed like a sheep, giving you all the vibe of a sheep, but it's a wolf ready to gobble you up. And that's exactly what these men are. Okay. And they're oppressing the poor. And, if they understood that, they would stop doing it, because that's the last thing you want to do is oppress your own people, man. We're already under the oppression, okay, of the so-called white man. Do you know how long it takes, okay, to get that image of Caesar Borgia in your head? In fact, you can never get it out of your head. It's ingrained in your head all your life. Okay. And even to this day, you still have that image in your head. That's all you know. Grandma told you it. Grandpa told you it. Aunt told you it. Uncle told you it. That's all you know. That's what you saw in your house hung up. Everywhere you look, you only see the glorification of the so-called white man. Okay. You don't see the only ones that are glorifying who the true power really is the true man of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua has set up. Okay. And the thing about it is that we're set up in a way that we don't have no power in our hand. And this isn't to say that we eat no the garbage. We're not. Okay. And we're never going to sit down on camera and boast about what we have, what the Lord has provided for us. Because, roughly paraphrasing, the Lord said, if riches increase, don't set your heart on it. Why? Because it's going to be taken away any doggone ways. Why? This world has to be changed. There has to be new rulership. So what? What you currently have right now, where do you have a nice house, cars or cars, uh, whatever? Okay, it's going to be going at some point. So don't set your heart on it. Tawadi Habashim Shabashim Kakadash for it. You do what you can do with it. To help others if they're worthy of it. But other than that, okay, our job on this earth is to simply serve Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. It's just that simple. Okay. So the Lord did not send these false prophets out there. Okay. And they're not going to profit you, because you Jay, so that you're investing a lot of time watching them, you're entertained by them. They got the 8K or the 4K and all these other things like that. And they'll keep these ceremony. And we got what, the Passover coming up. Okay. Is he going to come ride on another horse again, exalting himself? And a simple, y'all like folly, man. Y'all really like folly. This is a time of solemn. Okay. You don't think that we can all get a horse? You don't think and ride on a horse too? Why is that not done? Okay. This is not about us. This is about glorifying the Lord. Okay. The Mashiach, okay, glorifying the Father. But first we glorify the Mashiach. Okay. He's the one that's going to really make the decision. Okay, so who he's going to allow to move forward. That's why it says many are called, few are chosen. Okay, we want to be that few, man, the few, the proud, the chosen, elect. All right? We ain't got time for no BS, man. We're not impressed with any of that shenanigans. Okay. So it was a no-brainer when I found out the truth, the true truth from the true prophets. Okay, these are the men I need to learn from. Okay, and everything that they said, okay, it was ingrained into my mind immediately. It was like I heard it before. The first time I heard the name of the Lord, Yahweh, like wow, I heard it before. I knew it was powerful. It was different from just the word God and Jesus. It was different. Okay, I like to deal with maturity. I don't like nonsense, and I don't like politics. I'm not into it. Okay, I'm not into politics or gossip. I'm not into that shit. I'm just not. Okay, it's straightforward. Stick to the mission. All right, and the Lord Yahweh Shema Shah, I see as doing your mission. Okay, which is to distract those that He don't want, and you're doing a great job with it. Being very distracting. Let's go into um. Let's go into Deuteronomy 10. Jason, you need to understand this, that even what the so-called white man has belongs to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. The white man doesn't own anything. He doesn't own your life. Okay, he doesn't even own his own life. Okay. Some of the symbols, what they thought was going to be like a straightforward move over in Iran, is turning into catastrophe. Okay, and there's a lot more casualties than they're letting you all to believe. And there's a lot of other things that's going on, that is not being released to the public. Okay, but there are those of us who are people that are still in the inside, because we were all part of it too. Okay, but we're not going to really go in depth with that. But at the end of the day, okay, get ready to see a lot of debt. okay, U.S. service members, and then things really going south here in Great Babylon, America. This is Deuteronomy 10, and starting with verse 14, it reads, Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens is the Lord, Yahweh Shemashai, thy power, the earth also, with all that therein is. So guess what? The water. I mean, I was just thinking about it last night while I was trying to go to sleep. How does it rain? Now, Esau would explain in his science and shit like that, but you look at the fact that you get cloud, and then out of that cloud, you can have millions of gallons or billions of gallons of water just pouring. Yes, so you can fly a plane above that cloud, no rain, but then below that cloud, water's pouring. I mean, just to think about that, and this just give you an idea of the how Hashim Al Shai, the magnitude of his power or what he can do is just is incomprehensible. Even something like I'm thinking about that, like how does that work? Because a plane can fly through the cloud, a bird can. I mean, but yes, so when you feel water, it's an element and it's heavy-ish, and we drink it, it waters the ground, it can create flood, all kinds of stuff. Like, how does that work? And we probably find out in the kingdom how to actually truly works. Not what he saw us telling us, because this science is all bullshit. He says, only the Lord Yahweh Shemashai had a delight in the fathers who loved them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all people as it is in this day. So bottom line is he told you that he owns the universe. It's all his. And then he chose a particular line of people that he likes, okay, which is us. I mean, you think about that. So why in the hell would you try to gravitate towards when I open up in the book of Job, okay, 30, about people who are basically, Neanderthals, okay, that wear suits, and has been given the ability to speak, okay, that we can understand, and also been given the ability to create certain things. They steal most of the ideas from other tribes, but they create weapons of mass destruction and other things that's to bring chaos on the earth. They don't really create anything that's of benefit to mankind. This man only creates destruction. He says, circumcised, therefore, the force going to be a heart and be no more stiff neck. For the Lord, Yahweh Shemashah, your power is power of power. Okay. And it says, the Lord, your God, okay, power is God. I mean, he's a God over of gods, lowercase. You see how that goes? Because in reality, we're gods. And boy, people get really insulted with that when you go, you're God. Man, shit, nigga. We can't even freaking doggone even own a small shop. How the hell we gods? You don't get it, do you? We're exiled. Okay, we're exiled. These bodies that we're in, okay, these bodies are subject to death. Remember how should I say you're gods, but you'll die you'll die like man, like mortal man. So you're right. Okay, we don't have, power like Shazam or Superman yet, I brought us some video earlier this week concerning the fact that when we have faith, some brothers are going to be gifted with certain things, the power of defense, materializing food out of thin air, okay, other things, okay, and we all might, be gifted with multiple abilities or stuff like that. You have to pray for it and believe like this is the time right now that he's going to grant that, okay. And basically, it says, a great power, a mighty and terrible, which regardeth not person nor take a reward. So you can't bribe. You can't bribe one side. You can't. You can't. Imagine a being that gives you your thought. When you wake up, everything you do, that's the most high guiding you. And that's crazy. You can't hide nothing from the most high. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't hide nothing from the most high. Nothing. Okay. So that's who our power is. Okay. And that's just the way it is. Let's go into Amos 5 and Psalms 18. Let's talk about how terrible the day of the Lord is, because it is shocking that Christianity church actually still exists. I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised. Okay, that it actually exists. And you seen Eve put up a video concerning, them trying to meet men at church, which is kind of crazy back in the day. I think that movie Coming to America when they went to church. Cindy Hawley did a great job at playing the pastor. I thought that was funny. So okay, and supposedly when you go to church, you would meet a good, wholesome woman that would be marriage material, and that probably was how it was back in the day, not nowadays. Okay. Hoochie mamas and whores and we can go on and on and on. We've seen it all the time right now. And you have your Jakes out there who are still in the world. They're throwing up videos basically concerning that and warning brothers. And this is why these women are now losing their mind. Okay, because right now men who have been burnt so much or been burnt are now educating other men to prevent them from being burnt. Also, the Lord additionally is actually allow this devil to put out certain kinds of food that is lowering the libido of a lot of men, meaning you have no sexual desires. So a lot of men, actually young men, can't even get it up. Okay, and we don't even talk about the older men, cannot get it up. Okay. In the meantime, I'll just keep it just like that, because we'll keep it just like that. This is Amos 5, Psalm verse 18 reads, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai, to what end is it for you, the day of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai is darkness, not light. Now, do we desire to see Yahweh Shai return? Absolutely. But we're going to be scared as hell. We are going to be scared. Okay. We are going to be very afraid. Okay. The things that we're going to see on this earth and the judgment that the Lord is going to be bringing on this earth is we're going to be nervous. We are going to be very nervous. Okay. Yahweh Shai is not returning the way he was the first time. He's coming back in his true form. Okay. And we're going to see a God that's returning in great power. The whole earth is going to be terrified. Okay. Now, you ought to be nervous. But the fact is, what if you're not chosen? That means you're subject to the sword. When those angels are zapping up Great Babylon, America, and these other cities on this earth, I mean, do you want to catch a laser? I mean, you're looking up. Okay. Now, before Great Babylon, America is destroyed, guess what happens? The elect is actually taken off the earth. So if you translate it into that angelic body, okay, where we would have extraterrestrial and a terrestrial type body, we can go in space. That's going to be something else. And then also, we're going to be able to be living on Earth because we're really created to be on this Earth. Okay, so we're still going to look like humans. We're just going to look a lot different, or we're gonna be better. We're not gonna be sick and dying and weak and all that stuff like that. Okay. Because we're gonna be the weapons of war. It ain't gonna be no damn nuclear bombs and stuff and all that shit. I mean, the earth is gonna have to get cleaned up, and that's gonna be done. That's gonna be hundreds, centuries of cleaning up everything and turning this place back into a paradise. Okay. And who's gonna be doing that? Starting with Esau, okay, or Amalek, you know. Yeah, okay. He says, if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him and went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit him. So if you're not on the good side of the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, if you're not one of his chosen, if you're not one of his elect, you're going to run from one judgment to the next. Even if you escape it, you can just get into another one. And the Lord can set it up like that. He can have you catch hell all the way up until he put the missiles down here on Great Babylon, America. You went through all that. You managed to get through the famine. You managed to get through the sword and all of the riots and things going on. You managed to get through all kinds of craziness, man, pestilence, and then you catch that missile. Okay? It says, shall not the day of the Lord be Yahweh shall be darkness and not light, even very dark and not brightness in it. Okay. So really the wicked, Esau, they really gonna have the one, they're really gonna be experiencing, really the true wrath of Yahweh Shai, and then those that join hands with them. Okay, the rebellious 2/3. Okay, Lord willing, we're not part of the 2/3. Okay, and that's always a big thing, for us is that are we? Yeah, it's a terrible feeling when you sit down and you think about it. And I think Apostle Tahas come out now with a lesson that he would put on, and he would say, "Miss a day, miss a lot." Okay, because in this ministry, there's no time that you really can say, you know what, I'm going to take a couple of days off, a week off. I know the scriptures. I got to memorize. I have a ton of notes. I got notes. I know how to do the videos and stuff like that. And you go back into the world and catch up with your old buddies and all that stuff with that, and maybe call an old girl if you're a dude or whatever cases like that, and you just want to get catch up. You just want to relax your mind. You don't worry about putting out a lesson and stand up and doing a camp and wondering what scripture to pull and and stuff like that. And that could be a very daunting thing on the minds of, brothers who might have like very low views or no views at all. Why do you continue to go on? And that's the devil talking to you. Okay. So there's no time to do this. Keep in mind, I think it was the brother from Mysteries of the Kingdom, the trilogy, that brought out a lesson concerning the fact that we all have a lot. Okay. Now, when you look at, let me give you an example of that. When you look at, um, okay, you could say, let's use who's more popular. From Remnant Save 144. Uh, my mind is blank right now, that elder brother out there in Dallas or Houston, that put out lessons, and he put out 2, 3 lessons a day. He's got a very nice voice with it like that. I watch him a lot. Uh, he's very deep into things. He's got a lot of knowledge. You can go with the brother from GMS Vegas. I like how he breaks it out too. And I'm using the more popular ones, uh, that everyone would recognize. Uh, they bring it out. They go, they get into the news articles, and they're just privy to that. And of course, they have a network in which they do share stuff, and then some way we decide to bring it out, or several brothers will bring it out on the outskirts, but still, delivering the message the proper way. You have a brother Azan, okay, who brings out, more like a movie type style. And me and him have sat down in person in real life, and we talk about how it's done. And it's the 10-minute, 15-minute video that you watch that he brings out. It takes several hours. We're talking like 8, 9 hours to put one of those together and edit and put it all together and get the clips and all that stuff. So a lot of work goes into it. But the Lord put the spirit and gave him that. He has that ability. He's using that ability, and it draws a lot of viewers because a lot of our people are visual. My style is been more of a presentation style. So I use a combination of video clips and pictures and AI clips that I would generate using from some of the AI subscription. And that's the spirit the Lord put into me, to go. And those take a lot of time too, because I have to go look at it, research it up. Those take a couple of hours to do what you see a video up there. And I might only generate maybe 15 or 20 views or 30 views. If I get like 40 or 50 views, I'm like, damn, I'm trending, and it's like that. But hey, it's better. It's the way it is. We're not in this with popularity. You do what you have to do. And, the view count has gone up substantially compared to when I first came out, where I was getting like 4 or 5 views, you know, per video, but this is not about that. But I was just using those as an example of the fact that, you have to remain diligent in it. When the apostle said, miss a day, miss a lot, is that you can't for 1 minute go into la la land, even though, this man, as the scriptures say, he would attempt to exhaust the saint. Okay. There's always an issue, man. There's always an issue. Okay. There's always an issue. You can pay your bills, but then you get health issues. You get health issues, but you can't pay your bill. Or you can pay your bill, you don't have no health issues, but you ain't got no family. Okay. You might be a person who's always alone. Somehow it's just where it is each of us is set up in a life that you might another problem like some of you might have is that you have too much people around you, and you really don't want the people around you because they're having a negative impact on you, and you don't know how to get out of it. And that might be a tribulation that you're going through experiencing. The fact that you have a lot of backstabbers around you, a lot of people that really don't mean you any good at all. And you know it. Your spirit is telling you it, but you just don't know how to get out of that. All right. And that's part of a problem too, like that. But these are the crosses that, each and every one of us have to bear. In fact, let's go into Corinthians. Let's see here. I'm gonna see here, and this is my note. I do write notes. 2 Corinthians 4. I do write notes. I don't have the best of memory, and my brain is very selective of what it remembers and retain. It's just the way it is. Okay. Um, and I don't act. I don't pretend. Okay. I don't pretend. It's just the way it is. 2 Corinthians 4 and starting verse 3 reads, "But if our gospel be hid, it is said to them that are lost, in whom the God, which is Esau, of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of the Mashiach, who is the image of power, should shine unto them. So when the Mashiach first came, he was a carpenter, okay, and guess what? He still had followers, but we could see how Jay really felt about him when he was on trial. So it's going to be the same thing too with us. Um, right now, they're mocking you, laughing at us right now. I can't imagine when they put, even some of these other you know, camps like, oh, let's use IUIC. Because we see a lot of Jays complaining about, the trumpet or the microphone, Hebrew Israelites out there, disturbing the peace and making loud noise and, all that stuff. At the end of the day, those guys are still out there, and there's, like us apostles like to say, there might be elect men amongst them, that the Lord will separate at the right time before, that persecution comes. And, I believe that a lot of them, pursuing the fact that they trusted in the serpent and they trusted in their enemy, which they were warned not to when they're bitten by the serpent, because they think they're charming, eloquent speakers, all that stuff. They're gonna be the first. They're gonna be the first ones getting hemmed up. Okay, but of course, the media is going to know it's the Hebrew Israelite, and because we are Hebrew Israelite or identify as Hebrew Israelite, okay, we would also be subjected to whatever persecution that they're going to bring up too. Okay, which the Mashiach talked about the fact that they're going to bring some of you to the court system. Don't think about what you're going to have to say. The Holy Spirit will speak through you. Okay, and you will know how to basically say the words that's going to just dumbfound them in their court system, and that's going to be the righteous man, because the false prophet, they're going to die. They're going to go into dungeons. They're going to be in those internment camps. And was it worth it? Was it worth it for what you did to the people? And nobody perished innocent. You, as a false prophet out there, okay, from IUIC, ISUPK, and any other camp out there, GOCC, anyone else that's doing it, okay, you're guilty. You're guilty by association with the so-called white man and his false doctrine. So that means what? You're going to get that sword thrust for you. You're going to get a judgment. Whatever judgment comes on you, we will not shed a tear for you. When you're in those internment camps and they deem you as a terrorist, okay, or something sadistic to society, okay, and we told you, man. Now we know they're going to come after the true man, okay, and some will be subjected to death, and others will be subjected to imprisonment. But for the most part, uh, the true man of the Lord will be good. Okay. And I'm not gonna front when I tell you this. Okay. Each and every one of us is thinking to ourselves, will it be me? Okay. And each one of us have to when we do this work, okay, and we stand in our ground in our faith, you have to know that they can grab you, not necessarily the elder or the apostle. They might not be grabbed up. They might grab one of the younger brothers or one of the brothers who may have just started doing this for 2 years or 3 years. Okay, they might not grab the camp leader. They might grab the brother standing next to the camp leader or second in charge or third in charge or whatever the case is like that. Okay, this is how it's going to be. So every brother that stand up there, whether you twirling your thumb, okay, la, you just stand up there like that. You're part of the ministry, and you could be grabbed up. Okay, you could be grabbed up. So each and every brother has to prepare their mind for the fact that it may be our cutting it up. It might be my head that's going to be in a chopping block. Okay, it's going to be me that they can drag up, beat up, and do bad things too. Okay, and I remember talking to one brother. It's like, the one thing you always pray you don't have apathy. You can cut my head off and do all beat the living shit out of me, but none of us want to be sodomized. You know, you don't go like that, man. You know, and I remember I spoke to a brother about that. I pray, we don't get things that happen to us. Because we know this man is a sodomite, and they did that to us in the past. Humiliate us like that and did those things. All right. So yeah, it is troubling like that. Continuing on it reads, So they're blinded. Okay, they're blinded. And of course, when you still interact with people out there, when I say interact, you still have people that will try to talk to you or you deal with, you know, um, but you don't really associate with them as far as like in the ministry part like that. Obviously, you know, you know who not to talk to because they're not going to get it. They're in the world. Okay. And that's why we were told basically use this world without abusing it. Okay. So if there are people out there that could be useful to the ministry, albeit they may could make a donation that could help certain brothers out. They could help brothers with a job. They might know somebody, they might be connected to where, or it could be a job for a contract. You have brothers who in them construction business, you know, um, that could be able to do things to that, and those things are always good like that because it keeps the flow of, assets in, amongst the help where the righteous could use it for the purpose of, helping each other out or whatever the case is like that. So you may know those people like that. Um, but you always have to have in the back of your mind when you're dealing with them, they're proud of, what they've accomplished, what they got. But we know what pride goes before destruction. And unlike you, who may be in their league also too, you're not really sitting down as comfortable as you're not sitting down nowhere near as comfortable as them. And we put on a show there for the world too, because of the fact is that we have to walk two paths. There's one single path, one a path of righteousness, of course, is the narrow path. But at the same time, too, of course, physically in this world, you have to deal with your elements and your surroundings. Okay, you know, you're gonna see the sodomites walking around, and that's just a disgusting sight to see. These Edomites are so proud. They're so proud, you know. So you can't take it personally in that respect like that because we're not to take vengeance for ourselves or get out there and act a fool. Okay, there's an order. Okay, let's go into Psalms 20, Psalm 7. Let's see. Let's talk about this for a second. And it reads, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai, our power. So got it. Okay, yeah, you got the big bad America, their military force and all that stuff. And some of us we served. We know really what goes into it. Some of us serve in a position we got privy to a lot of doggone things. Okay, to a lot of things. We had the clearances, the whole 9 yards. Got privy to a lot of things. So you see things, and unlike a lot of people who might be impressed or don't understand how it works in there, those of us, who spend like 2 decades in it, we know what time it is. Okay, we know exactly what time it is like that. Some brothers may bring out the experience, others don't. But this is, you don't glorify Esau ever. It says, actually, that's it right there. I actually wanted to use for that. Um, because it really comes down to, and chairs always represent power, and again, Jake's them, they trust into that perception of power. Okay. And you see this around in the world. I'll tell you this. One of the worst day of my life when I found out I was a black man. Up until that point, I thought everything was fair and square. And then I found out I was a black man. And you might ask yourself, like, what the hell are you talking about? Aren't you a black man? No, you don't understand. See, when you're a black man here in America, you suddenly now realize you're at the bottom. Your life has no value. Doesn't matter what you do. Okay. you realize that people want to see you in that position of picking up after them, being the garbage man, being the floor sleep, the floor sweep. You know, the guy that makes everybody life. Bro, I got it. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. But it comes with a stigma that is, um, and it comes with a stigma that if you are not taken out of that, it's a mental drain. And this is what's happening with now with a lot of Jakes. The so-called black woman now realize she's a black woman. She's not as valuable as she thought she was. Yeah, you want to think you're a person. All things should be fair and square. You should be judged accordingly, not based on your outer appearance, but basically what you're really about. You might be able to go and bring, uh, you might be an asset for that company. You might be an asset for whatever, the people that are in rulership. And then they let you know you ain't shit. And that's when you realize you're a black woman or a black man, or you're a Latino man or a Latino woman. When they're dragging you out of your house, and throwing you in a van, and putting you in one of these hellhole place called camps or FEMA camps, where nobody sees you. People are defecating on themselves. Nobody's cleaning up. There's no the sanitation is deplorable. Disease is spreading rapidly. See, the thing about the awakened, members of the children of Israel, we remember when we were when we came to the conclusion we were a black man and a black woman, a Latino man, Latino woman, Hispanic man, Hispanic woman, Native American man, Native American woman. And you decided to go, this is it. And then something happened. We got awakened and realized, no, man, we're not the bottom feeders. We're not the bottom. We're actually the top. Everything is upside down. The top is really the bottom, and the bottom is really the top. And yet still 2/3 of our people can't see that. And it's supposed to be like that. In fact, let's go into let's go to Joel 3. I want to bring up something here. This is Joel 3, and starting with verse 19. It says, Egypt, which is placed on the spiritual soil of Egypt, should be a desolation. Edom should be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem for generation to generation. Now, let's pause there for a second, because I know y'all can't get over it, or y'all think, oh, you guys can't get over it. That was a long time ago. Well, you are your fathers. Just like we are. We all pay for our sins. Okay, now the price that we pay for our iniquity is always coming to an end. So minus the 2/3, the 1/3 is going to be saved out, and things is going to be our judgment will come to an end. I say our because I'm hopefully that. I say our, and I mean the brotherhood, the sisterhood. Okay, those who are believers. But you look at this, and you go, why can't we just forgive and forget what Esau did to us? No. I open up with what? Give her double as she's given to you. This man has given us nothing but sorrow and pain and headache. Now, yeah, that white boy that you see in my background is getting his whip. But take a look at the keloids on the Jake over there. That was a brutal beating. We're gonna get to see what they did to Yahweh Shai, which is gonna make even that Jake with his beating look like nothing. He's gonna show us what he actually looked like, what they did to him. if you understand what crucifixion is about, and when they took that cat lion tail and whip him and pull off his flesh, we're gonna see that what that actually looks like. This man took what what is a true Holocaust and made a mockery of it. And you think that me or any brothers here to sugarcoat what we think of the so-called white man, Esau the Edomite, the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of, that we're here to like, oh, that was a long time ago. No. Yahweh Shemashah is never going to fucking forgive you. He's never going to let you repent. You're going to be our subject in the kingdom. You're going to pay. There ain't no getting away with Esau with what you've done. Ever. You're going to know what it's like to be an Edomite. Just go in this world, under your rulership, we know what it's like to be a black man. It says, but Judah shall dwell forever and Jerusalem from generation to generation. So guess what? Despite the fact of what you've done to us, your kingdom will be destroyed, ours will be erected, and we will be forever and ever. Okay? That's how it's going to play out. Let's go into close. We got two more scriptures I want to bring up before I close this. And let's go into Jeremiah 50, verse 22. I always like to bring out this because if you're looking at the headlines right now, you'll see the fact that what Esau has provoked, okay, and antagonized these other nations to the fact that they're going to get together and they're going to come against this place real soon. Okay. It says, the sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How's the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How's Babylon become a desolation amongst the nations? So guess what? Okay. As the Arab nations or UAE nation, nations, United Arab Emirates. And if you've ever been to Dubai and Bahrain and those places like that, they're beautiful places, especially Dubai, and I'm not talking about the passport brother BS that's you see taking place right now. And I thought about going into a lesson into that, but it would be just me just calling these retarded niggas out. And I'm not even gonna go there. It's a waste of time. Okay, it makes no difference. Okay. Um, Beautiful places, when you consider, nice cities that are well built, clean, places where if you throw garbage on the ground, you subject to go to jail and pay a hefty fine. Okay. It's like that. When I was in Dubai, I chewed gum on a train, did not see the sign on the train. The next thing I know, there was escorting my ass off the doggone train, me and my wife. Okay. And they took us in the office and we was over there for vacation. I mean, that was our second day. Nobody in the train warned me. They probably just thought like, all right, let them catch a shit. Then I look when they pointed out, I look up and I go, oh crap. And of course I quickly, luckily at that stage, I had, you know, been coming into the ministry. I wasn't doing no teaching or anything at that stage. I was still learning. But I knew enough to like humble yourself. Okay. A few years ago I might have not been had that type of wisdom, that had happened a few years ago. So I humbled myself and basically go, I pretend, hey, look, I didn't know. I just got over here. I was so excited. I said, I told him I have low blood sugar and I was just trying to just stay away so I could enjoy, my stay there in Dubai. And it worked. Not only did they not do anything to me or find me or do anything like that, they actually escorted us and show us how to actually get to certain places that we wanted to go and pull up a map and show us the part of Dubai, man. So sometimes, you know, uh, hey, it is the way it is, man. Know when to fight and when not to, and what they say, when a man ways pleases, Yahweh Shemashah, he'll make his enemies be nice to him. And at that time, like I said, I wasn't teaching, but you know, many years later, look, I'm out here, and so this is what my purpose in life was the entire time. It says, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken of Babylon. Thou was not aware, thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord Yahweh Shai. Okay. And this man always goes up. We know the blasphemies and this man and lies, and he persecutes the Lord's people, Abba Messiah. And the Lord's got something for him. It says, the Lord Yahweh Shai opened his armory, and I brought forth the weapons of his indignation, for this is the work of the Lord, power of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. Okay, so this great destructions is coming. And for those of you who, you know, just you want to save Esau really bad, because I don't know why. I don't get it. You don't think about the other nations, but you just want to save the white man so bad. Okay, but let's talk about what these other what every nation other than the children of Israel are today. All nations, this is Isaiah 40:17, all nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity. Meaning what? They are created because he can create them, and their purpose is going to be in the kingdom to serve us. Their purpose is going to be to serve us. All these nations you're looking at right now, as proud as they may be, these so-called Asians and um, Africans and Middle Eastern, this is their heaven. And, whether they did well in it or not, well, it's too bad, because in the kingdom of heaven, they're going to serve us. All right. And that's just the way it's going to be. So, Lord willing, the elect was edified. To close with him all the way on to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kakadash, Shalom.